Welcome back to our mornings. We're going to be continuing with Aisling's case and understanding it a little bit better. Libby Powell, who's a legal assistant really in this with Christian Concern. Libby, just tell us a little bit about what you do at Christian Concern and then get on to the case with Aisling's.
Sure, I'm a caseworker at Christian Legal Centre, which means managing and looking after our clients, looking after the cases. So with Aisling's case, beginning with that back in 2013-14, seeing it through and helping with the other lawyers on the team.
Well, thank you for helping in such an important case as well. But all the work that you do at Christian Concern, I'm always looking at newsletters. That's why I came across your particular weekly concerns.
Sure.
And one of them obviously being the disappointment, really, that you must have faced when Aisling's sort of High Court case actually was just turned out again, turned down.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that?
Very sad and disappointed really at the justice system, which really has not operated as it should in Aisling's case. This case, as you heard, has been going on since 2012, when there was uproar, not just amongst Christians, but with Jeremy Hunt, I believe it was, and parliamentarians writing to the government and saying, this is illegal. Why is this happening? Why are these doctors not being investigated and prosecuted? And then we have the CPS saying we've looked at everything, we're not prosecuting, it's not in the public interests, whatever that means. And then Aisling coming along, being brave enough to take on these doctors and to say justice needs to be done. And again, being told by the CPS, you cannot take this case further, we're dropping it, which they did. And then Aisling then being brave enough to challenge that decision at the High Court back in December 2015 and being told yet again, this case is going no further. And happily for you, here are the costs, of course, not happily. But it really
amounts
is
to
most
47,000,
unjust.
doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's a few issues here, isn't there? I mean, one is how can the ordinary person, like our viewers, come to terms with the fact that there can be no further legal action taken because it can be in the deemed to be in the public's interest, can it not? Surely.
Absolutely, and that's one of the very hard things to understand about this case. How can it not be in the public interest for doctors who are shown to say, I will break the law, to not be prosecuted for that? Now, I think as Aisling said earlier, in terms of the costs, the next stage is the court case mid-September to challenge those costs, to help the court to see why these costs are immoral and unjust. And we take it from there. This is a new step for Aisling as well as for those of us who are supporting her. So we really wait and see, but we will not relent and we will challenge what's happening to Aisling.
Was there no legal aid offered?
Not in this case.
Why, may I ask?
I can only imagine that that's because legal aid doesn't apply to these sorts of situations. As you know, it's been cut drastically, just not available for this sort of case.
Well, just recently, in the papers this last week, was the solicitors that were bringing cases for those claiming to have been damaged by British troops whilst in Iraq, and these are Iraqis that have been bringing cases through a legal aid system and not even being based here in this country. And you have something like this, which is an important issue because the children or the unborn children, our lives have been taken out, and there's no legal aid for this.
No support, and not only that, but the person who brings the case actually has to end up paying the bills. Well, we pray not, but that's the situation we're in.
It's absolutely crazy. It's this, you lose total faith in our justice system, and we can't have that. So, what sort of steps can we take to go further with it, to make more of a noise about it?
Absolutely. Well, we do need to make a noise, and we've told our supporters, we've asked our supporters, please write to your MP and raise this. About 50 MPs actually did raise this, probably about 2 or 3 years ago when this all started coming out and nothing was done. And they really did get on board. There seems to have been maybe some apathy since then because things haven't been moving. Now is the time that Aisling faces this cost bill to go back to our MPs and say, look at this, it's horrendous, this is unjust, there's a clear case to answer, the CPS has done nothing and Aisling foots the bill. What do you think about this? What will you do about this? And hopefully, when MPs get involved, that will procure some sort of discussion in Parliament at least, make some noise, get people understanding what's really going on, bring this to a head. It needs to be brought to a head.
Okay, so really what you're saying now, the first stage of anybody who's listening to this wants to get involved, that's to write to their local MP.
Yes, and we've produced points that they can include in a letter. So if they go onto the Christian Concern website, they can read up on how to do that. And if they get responses, please let us know.
Okay, well, we're going to put that up again. Here we go. All the W's, christianconcern.com. Correct?
Yes.
And make sure that people, you keep putting that up throughout the rest of this programme. I'd appreciate that, Mr. Producer. Okay, the next thing is obviously, I suppose, stage by stage, but are you very hopeful that those costs are going to be either totally written off or reduced? Don't you still think
it's unknown territory, to be honest? This hasn't happened before, so we can only wait and see.
Okay, so we need to look, because some of our viewers are very kindly already suggesting that maybe a fund should be set up as well. So maybe we talk about that when you next come to tell us what the news is.
Yes.
When is it coming?
Well, we think it will be sometime in September, but it's all to be confirmed.
Okay. Let's. If there's anything that you need to add to this particular programme, because we're hoping to repeat this as well tomorrow night as well, so please do. Let me read a few more of the emails and texts that are coming in. This is from Brian, who says, with the stroke of a pen and one word, a death certificate is announced. So easy now for our so-called democratic government, now through legalising murder, for us to break God's law, thou shalt not kill. The education system of the West, who follow government direction, have all been infiltrated and corrupted, he says, by the devil, who is helped for his purpose by, he talks about the Masons more. Obviously, that's a different subject here, who he believes lies behind all of this. Well, I suppose you could understand that there might be something coming down from the top through the court systems, who are, and you haven't had a proper explanation as to why it's not in the public interest, and you sort of just carte blanche, well, I'm sorry, this is the end of the line for you bringing this case. You can understand why Brian is probably thinking there's something else going on behind the scenes. He concludes with, we're behind Ashley and also support Christian Concern. Blessings to you, Ashley, and all concerned. And this is Libby, who I have with us right now, who's, as you said, how do you announce your...
A caseworker, Christian Legal Centre.
Almost like a social worker, but this is... Okay. All right. The emails are flying in now. Perhaps you should be allowed to choose... perhaps they should be allowed to choose than some families having endless children. Again, text, do check your texts when you send them, because it's not easy for me to read them when they are not quite grammatically correct. That's to do with the Olympic Games. That one won't do for this. Okay, this is other particular program that we did earlier that we're talking about. The morning after pill is also murder. The soul is present from the moment of creation at conception. Abortion is child abuse of the vilest kind, says William. Well said, William. Another one here. Can you, at Revelation, start a petition, which if we get enough signatures, the government must consider at least a debate, says John.
Good idea. Yeah, I hope that part of the writing to MPs will bring about a debate, some discussion. This really does need to be aired in public life at the highest levels. Very
good. Okay, the world is unjust. Just look at what Tony Blair has got away with. But does God not forgive us of our sin? That's a good point. People that perhaps watching who've actually, carried out had an abortion, they carry sometimes a lot of guilt with them. What do you say is offer a biblical hope for that?
Well, our response should be biblical and should be based on the Lord Jesus. And what did he do? He forgave all of us, because we've all sinned in different ways. So what we seek to show as Christians is that we love everybody, and that where there's sin that has been repented of, whatever that is, that Jesus says, you're forgiven, start afresh. And I think that's a message that may be lost sometimes when people look at the pro-life movement generally. Certainly not Aisling and her work, and certainly I hope not Christian Concern. The answer is to love the woman, to love the husband, the partner, the surrounding family, who are all so affected, and we just don't know who's affected by abortion, but we really do need to be loving and provide responses which help, not just condemn.
Exactly. Okay, this is another one that's talking about Aisling's particular case. It says, perhaps these doctors are Freemasons as well, and those in authority over them, and therefore are obliged to let them off. We don't know that for sure, but interesting points. Now, as we conclude, anything that you want to add to this, Libby?
I think just to ask for prayer, really, for the legal team. As I've said, this is new territory, that we would know how to respond to the court hearing. Pray for the court that makes that very important decision in September or whenever it is, that they would understand that God would be working in their hearts and give them understanding. And pray for Aisling as well, that she would continue to have the amazing bravery that she's shown so far.
Yeah. Well, Libby, thank you so much for sharing with us. And hopefully, if you want to see the repeat of this, you can watch this tomorrow night. Or we will be featuring it, God willing, if we don't have any technical problems, on the Late Show. So please be sure to tune in and get other people, your friends and others that want to know more about this particular gender abortion trial that Aisling's going through. And do pray for her and also for Christian Concern, and do support Christian Concern for all that they do. Thank you so much, Libby. We're going to go to a little song, and hopefully we'll continue our mornings with Mark and myself, and please stay tuned to Revelation TV.